You could not have convinced me that when Alan Wake 2 was revealed, after over a decade of waiting for a true sequel, people would actually have hostility toward it. This was the dream game for so many fans and gamers. Yet here we are in 2023, and there are fans convinced the game will be a huge disappointment. The truth is, we don't really know much about it yet. There are plenty of examples of poor reboots or sequels which fail to properly expand on their respective franchise in a meaningful way. Is it possible Remedy's long-awaited sequel will be one of those cases? I'm not so sure Alan Wake 2 will be among such misfires. However, before either I or other fans rush to conclusions about anything, we should probably examine what is causing so much concern. Although we haven't had a proper opportunity to get to know or understand the full role or purpose of this character, we have been at least introduced to the co-lead of Alan Wake 2, Saga Anderson. Saga first made an appearance in an Easter egg of sorts for Remedy's Quantum Break. Her appearance in Alan Wake 2 grants her a much larger spotlight than the cameo associated with the other Remedy title. Not only will players get exposed to Saga's character, they will be playing through half of the story's content as her, alongside Wake. Sam Lake has noted the differing and changing versions of the sequel over the years. It was decided several iterations ago that Remedy's dev team would pursue a more ambitious narrative than the first game. Part of this new direction involved a more focused effort on duality. Having two playable characters was seen as playing a part in that duality. Now, if you know the gaming sphere of fandom, you also know that fans and players who have waited a long time for a beloved game series to return are also very picky about what they love getting tampered with. You cannot convince me that Sam Lake, who is arguably one of the greatest writers in gaming history, would purposefully do anything to disrespect the legacy of Alan Wake as an IP or as a character. However, I understand the problem people have with spending half of the much anticipated sequel as a completely new character, whom the fans have no prior attachment with. Saga Anderson is seen as a red flag of things to come. But why though? Why is her appearance in Alan Wake 2 the subject of so much concern? Ironically, it has very little to do with Remedy or Alan Wake as a franchise. For the last decade, more and more, we've seen franchise reboots and sequels to beloved IPs start to lose their way, often in pursuit of needlessly overambitious narrative complexities or controversial gameplay changes. We've seen all manner of bad character decisions. We've seen bold, creative directions go utterly awry. We've seen this situation play out before. It's an all too familiar dilemma. So what does this have to do with Alan Wake 2, exactly? Well, let's just remind ourselves that another long-awaited sequel with super ambitious designs and concepts released not long ago, and unless I'm mistaken, it wasn't exactly a unanimous success. It proved to be one of the most divisive video games in recent memory. I think you know what I'm talking about. The Last of Us Part 2 wasn't the train wreck some would have you believe, but its insistence on having a split protagonist narrative and several other ambitious ideas ultimately catapulted the pacing and jettisoned the structure into oblivion. Among other things, the split protagonist structure is not bad on its own, and it can work in the right context. My hope is that Sam Lake and team have created a compelling and interesting way for Alan Wake and Saga Anderson to coexist within the narrative, without sacrificing too much of what makes Alan Wake the Alan Wake IP we know and love. Another aspect of Saga's appearance in this game is the ongoing pop culture debate surrounding the introduction of strong, independent female characters into traditional franchises with male established leads. This is based on a belief that video games, having been seen as a boy-focused market, is lopsided toward male leads without any unique or memorable female leads for female gamers to connect with. On its own, there's nothing inherently wrong with having strong female characters in a game. We've all played plenty of games where the main character is a female. Why do people suddenly think games have never featured female characters as leads or as important supporting characters? Well, my guess is that they don't play a lot of the older franchises that feature these characters, or pay enough attention to them to take notice. My second favorite gaming character of all time is Lara Croft. One of my favorite Final Fantasy characters is Lightning. I know, go ahead, persecute me. Cortana, Dr. Halsey, Joanna Dark, Faith Connors, and Anya Stroud were all strong and beloved female characters in games I've played. It's almost as if they don't think these characters and the many others throughout gaming's storied history actually count. If they did, we wouldn't have a meme that looks like this. I think a lot of people feel like they are often being preached to or talked down to by companies and media when people give interviews talking about how this franchise is bad or problematic because of X, Y, or Z reason. People can get very defensive when media, reviewers, and developers criticize the things they cherish and love about legacy franchises and IP. Nowadays, when people start to see this kind of stuff all the time, they immediately go on the defensive. Because let's face it, they've been burned so many times before that when they see smoke, they start to brace for the fire. There's an old expression that if something looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. A lot of folks immediately jump to what they know and recognize from recent memory and recent events with similar situations. So in reality, I don't think the outrage over the dual protagonist in Alan Wake 2 really has anything to do with the game itself or with Saga's appearance in it. It has everything to do with every fire that scorched the trail ahead of Alan Wake 2 and Saga Anderson's arrival. Personally, I think Alan Wake 2 will end up being a thrilling game with an exceptional story to boot. As long as it avoids the pitfalls and mistakes of those that came before, perhaps the player's ability to switch between protagonists at will, coupled with gameplay features unique to each respective protagonist, will make the two characters' parts in the narrative feel worthwhile and important, without detracting from each playable experience. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, I ask that you would subscribe, consider clicking that like button and hitting that little bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any new videos as soon as they drop. Thank you so much, and have yourself a great day.